All right, looks good. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out virtually on this super snowy day. It's lovely to meet up with all of you, and I hope you're staying warm and safe wherever you are. So I'm going to talk about two very different topics. Well, not very different, but two different topics today. And I sent out a bunch of files to you probably about 20 minutes ago, so you just got them to refer back to if you ever need to, and you can go through them as I'm talking today. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the DH lab, and so I'm going to start to share my screen and work through some of the presentations that I've got here. All right, can you see my slides okay? All right, excellent, thank you. So like I said, this is part one of a two-part winter breakout today, and I'm just going to talk about the DH lab, and let's jump right into it. So yeah, my name's Candis Haak. I'm housed in the history department, but I also am the director for the digital humanities minor. So that's where I'm coming from. And of course, please email me if you have any questions. In the future, if you want to know more about what we're doing or what you could do, or if you want to see certain things happen, just feel free to email me. Now, this year we had a big, huge party to celebrate the opening of our digital humanities lab. It was fantastic. So a lot of people on campus and everywhere else, I guess, don't really know what digital humanities means. So I'll talk about that, but specifically, where is the physical entity that is the DH lab? Right now, that's in Mahar, room 210. We established this with a big Sheneman grant that a collective of us applied for. So that's Alana Osa from the anthropology department, Evla Benavides, Murat, Yashar, myself, and CTS, in collaboration with them. We got this grant, we established this lab, and a lot of us had been working to get this space on campus for about 5 to 7 years. So it was a really big accomplishment. And what we have now is just a really robust set of computers that can do what we need them to do. For those of us who dabble in the digital world. Let's see here. And really our goals are to facilitate further instruction on these computers and collaborate across the campus and with the community. So we've got a space to do, good work, good digital work, but also a space to meet and to collaborate, exchange ideas and knowledge. So all right. What exactly does the lab have? Like I said, we've got really robust computers, which is just fantastic. We don't have a ton of software on them right now, just because there's not a lot of us that need it. So we are putting software packages on the computers on a as-need basis. We've got Photoshop, we've got mapping software, we've got, good dual monitors, lots of RAM, that sort of thing. And this is a space that's reservable now. It's not just acting like a classroom, it's reservable, so you can host workshops or courses there, and it's open for student and faculty use. So if you have a TA, a research assistant, whatever that needs to sit down with other students or do some research, this is a great space to use it for. Soon I'm going to have a lab assistant. So starting in this upcoming semester, I'll have a dedicated research assistant that is manning the lab. So like I said, if you've got those students, if you yourself want to get into the lab and use the computers, you'll be able to. Once I get a schedule sorted out, I'll send out an email with days and times. In addition to the computers, we have some mobile devices that can be reserved and used on an as need basis. So some of those things include immersive Ricoh camera, which does a really nice sort of 360 photography. And I got this with a couple of intentions in mind. Um, you've probably seen this kind of photography since the pandemic in real estate. So when people couldn't go out into the real world and look into spaces, the real estate people sort of adopted these photos. So you could actually stand in the center of a space and look around. And there's other software packages that can be used with it so you can actually annotate space that you're looking at, right? And I was introduced to this sort of idea of photographing immersive space with annotation by a professor of religious studies from Chicago, and he was using this in churches. And so this is a tool that you could think about incorporating. We also have a really great DSLR camera. We have off-camera flashes in case you need to photograph very deteriorated tombstones, which I've had to do. And of course, we've got a bunch of iPads, which they're slowly coming to the end of their use life, but we have them nonetheless, and they've got great weather resistant cases on them. Um, in addition to this, as a part of my research in the grants I've applied for in the past, I have a really great collection of physical monument preservation equipment, tools, and chemicals. So, if you're interested in preserving some monuments, you please come and talk to me, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. All right. Again, what the heck is digital humanities? It's this really huge umbrella term that gets thrown out a lot, but to distill it into um, a concise answer, it's answering old humanities questions with new tools or finding new questions to ask. And again, answering those with new digital tools. So we're really interested in developing methodologies, creating processes to answer important humanities questions. So yes, I'm coming from the history department, but my PhD was in anthropology and I did archaeology. So these are tools every humanities discipline can take advantage of, and I'll talk about that in a bit more too. Now, in coming this semester through a fantastic contact that Professor Alana Osa has, we're going to be hosting our first workshop in the DH lab. And this is going to be to have students and community members learn how to use CRIS, which is an important tool within New York. So we're going to have this workshop hosted to learn how to use this kind of spatial mapping program that allows users to access important databases of historic and cultural information throughout New York. So we're going to be having and hosting that, which is just going to be so exciting. So once we get a date set up for that, I'll let people know as well. The future of DH at Oz, we've got lots of aspirations, but like I said, I'm going to have a lab assistant. I was able to get funding to pay for a student to be in the lab to do research, but also to help people that want to come in and help answer questions. Um, and yeah, I just want to encourage you all to please reach out or talk to other people that you think could benefit from working in the DH lab or connecting with myself. Also, we have a new website in the making, so that will be coming up in the new year as well. And if there's a particular software packages or needs that your department or faculty around you could make use of, please let me know. We can try to get them. We can try to install it. Our lab can be reserved for student research needs, your research needs. If you need a good computer, we've got them. And now in the far, far future, we've got some very big plans. The lab, once Mahar goes under its big, huge renovation, the DH lab is going to move onto the first floor of the building. We're going to be highly visible. We're going to be really a central hub within the building. So students are going to see us, faculty are going to see us. We're going to have more equipment. We're actually going to have a recording room in addition to the computer lab, but also we'll have pretty robust storage space. So it's all to share these tools and equipment and resources with students and faculty. So we're very excited about that. And this is sort of a mock-up of the first floor, what that's going to look like after the big, huge renovation. So you're going to enter here, and Digital Humanities Lab is right here. Like I said, highly visible. We're going to be right across from the student lounge. So we're going to be in people's minds, or at least visible to a lot of people, which is really exciting. And this is an example of some of that preservation equipment that I mentioned, that physical preservation equipment. So I received a grant so I could purchase some equipment to work on these headstones at our local cemeteries that we thought were beyond salvageable or beyond reading. And lo and behold, it just the power of some of these chemicals and the elbow grease of my students revealed some amazing information. So this is one tombstone that had broken and was just kind of upside down and sitting against a tree, and with some of the solution that we used and my students' care, we were able to get read an inscription that we just never thought possible. It was really amazing. And the inscription reads, sleep on, dear mother, take your rest. God called you home, he thought it best. We something angels steer her on to something that blessed immortal shore. Neither pain nor grief can come. So it was just remarkable that we could read this, because this is one of the few robust inscriptions within the town of Oswego Cemetery. So it's a rare example of inscription that long from the Victorian period. And some more examples because they're just so fantastic. Another example here, just the work that my students put in, and the resources that we have are yielding fantastic results. Now, if you want to follow the work that my students do in particular in terms of DH and working in local cemeteries, we've got a handle, we've got an Instagram page. It's at Ghosts of Oswego. So I encourage you to check us out there. This semester, the students focused on preservation, but also local ghost storytelling, which was a lot of fun for them. So they posted on that. If you have any questions, again, please email me. And this is a shot of our Digital Humanities Grand Lab opening party. So it was a lot of fun. And I did dress up, and so did my mom. So she came out from British Columbia to help us celebrate. It was a big deal. Does anyone have any questions about the DH lab before I move on to StoryMaps? Oh, yeah, Lisa, go ahead.
Hey, Candice, I'm really sorry. I came in a few minutes late. Did you say, or can you tell me how many computers are in that lab?
I believe we have 24.
Okay. All right. Because I'm putting together a GIS course.
Ooh, love it.
That I would I'm gonna probably use like QGIS. I'm not, we don't have to like buy Arc or anything, but I may try to just have it scheduled in there then.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, if you do use ArcGIS, then you can use all of their other nice little features and stuffs. But yeah, QGIS is open source, which is just so lovely as well. But the lab would be a great place, because the computers and dual monitors would be lovely for the students to use.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay, so I'm going to move on to story maps. Let me just switch out my slides here. Oops. All right. Has anyone dabbled in story maps? I know a couple of you have, but just okay, good. I wasn't sure how deep to go into this or how introductory this should be. So this is going to be coming from primarily a pedagogical standpoint. So hopefully that's helpful. And like I said, I sent you all a lot of files. Most of them are actually handouts that I use for my classes in which we do use story maps. So hopefully that's kind of helpful to you. So you can go back to it later. And if you ever want to brainstorm on pedagogy, please let me know. But yeah, so this is part two, and we're going to dive right in here. Um, Basically, I'll quickly introduce to you what story maps is if you don't know. I'll show you a student example before I start getting into the ins and outs of story map, how to get started, how to bring it into your course, and then I'll just briefly mention some of the immersive storytelling capabilities that it has, and then we can go to a question and answer session if you have any questions. So story maps, again, what the heck is story maps? So I like to start with this question. This is really an app, if you will, that's web based, and it's such a fantastic and versatile storytelling tool, or digital storytelling tool, and it's got a lot of interactive potential. So it's not just something static. It's shareable, it's interactive, it's and I really want to emphasize this, it's not just map based. So if you're not interested in having your students do mapping, you can still use story maps, because you can bring into it a lot of other rich media. Text, it's really text focused. You could bring in photos, videos, audio, immersive embeds too, which is really interesting, like Spotify. So say you build up a Spotify playlist, you can definitely link that in. And what I like for my classes is that you can actually embed things from Google Maps, like a Google Street View, where you can actually stand on the ground and do a sort of a 360 view of the landscape. And of course, now it's got a fantastic new function that allows you to work with timeline features. So we've got this space and temporal aspect to it that's just really powerful. So, like I said, this is a versatile tool, and that's sort of the name of the game in terms of pedagogy. It's very versatile. So many different disciplines can use it. And it's so lovely because it really helps students bring their research to life. It's not just the static written paper that they will likely immediately forget, but it's just something that brings a story to life or brings a research to life. Now, where does Story Maps live? Some of you are going to be familiar with this. Of course, it's part of an ESRI package, and ESRI is sort of um, the standard for mapping, right? And at least that's it's not open source, unfortunately, but it is an industry standard for mapping, really a global market leader. um, and it doesn't just deal with mapping, it also really focuses on how to organize and work with a ton of data. So location intelligence, data intelligence, mapping, it's really a huge suite, a huge umbrella of tools. So SUNY has purchased a license so that we all have access to Esri's suite of tools that are applicable to us. Not all of them, but most of them, all the ones that you're going to need at a sort of education level. And let's see here. Yeah, QGIS, like Lisa had mentioned, that's an open source sort of equivalent. So once you dip your toes into learning how to map with either ArcMap or with QGIS. Those are fairly transferable between different types of platforms. And, I encourage people or students and faculty here to use the hell out of our license because, like I said, we pay for it. And once you leave the institution, it costs a lot of money to get access to this kind of software, but it's highly employable. It will help your students either land employment or, um, you know, get into really interesting research projects. This is also a really scalable tool. So you can think about it in terms of for student individual projects throughout the semester, or you can think about it for yourself for really big scale data analysis, data processing, that sort of thing. Um, yeah, it's just one of the many, many tools that Esri has. Now, like I said, there's a ton of apps that they have. I've used quite a few of them. I in one of my classes, I do create a survey for going out and recording data off of local monuments, and I use Survey 123, and I'll show you what that looks like um, in a second here. But we've got all of their mapping sort of apps here, ArcGIS Online. That's again sort of an industry standard. Um, Now, the great thing about Esri right now is that they've moved away from having their main mapping software from being a really heavy software package that to use it well, you have to download it onto, locally onto a computer, right? Which really means it's so much more accessible to people. So if you are a student, all you need to do to use their mapping packages now is have, any kind of a laptop and access to the internet, right? So it's so much more accessible. And I really feel that this makes the learning curve much more accessible to it, less steep than with their previous iterations of what ArcGIS Online looked like or ArcMap. So it's getting better like that, more accessible for a wide range of people. And like I said, story maps, you don't need to map, you can map. And you can either do that through one of their mapping apps and pull that information into story maps, or story maps has its own really nice, basic, simple mapper built into it. So there's different ways you can use space or mark up space. So there's like entry level and there's a bit more sophisticated. Um, so you've got options depending on if you want to learn how to map and how much you want to learn. Now, students, they can, by using ArcGIS story maps here, they can really transform their research into beautiful digital storytelling. Like I said, it is super hard to make your work in story maps look bad, which is so lovely. It's so hard to mess this up, and it's so easy to make things look great. And then I find when students see that, oh, this looks good, let me start to actually tweak it. So you don't get that discouragement that is so prevalent with using other types of software. So you see things look good and you can make them look better and better. So even if you're not trying, your work is going to look fantastic. And like I said, this is shareable. So you can share your students' work just between you and the student. You can do that, or you can create a group, or you can share institution wide, or you can make it public. So you can share this stuff. Like I said, it's interactive, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And you can pull a whole bunch of different types of rich media into what you're doing. The only thing you can't do is like bring smell into it, I find. You can do everything else. But so the pros for trying to get your students to work with story maps, I think they're just going to have access on their own to an incredible amount of troubleshooting data and guides online. If you have a question, you just need to Google it and you will find answers. They can troubleshoot themselves. It's so easy. There's just so many great resources out there. But there's the flip side to that is that there's so much out there that it could be really daunting, especially for you as a professor if you're trying to get um, a package, a coherent package together to help your students troubleshoot various things. So it could be a little overwhelming. And as mentioned before, this is an open access. But hey, we've got ArcGIS or we've got access to Esri right now. So let's use the hell out of it. All right, so I want to show you a couple of student examples before I get more into story maps here. Let's see if I can share that. Mm. Launch meeting. I think this is gonna work. All right. So, this is a story map from my upper level South Asian class, South Asian Sacred Spaces, done by the fantastic Alexandra Wyckoff. If you've had her as a student, you love her, and she just did such a great job with this project too. So I just want to quickly show you so you get kind of a feeling of what it can look like. So this is her story map, and she's looking at the goddesses in the mountains of India. Now, my big challenge in teaching South Asian history and religion is this is a very abstract place and space for our students that have not ever traveled somewhere that's non-Western, right? So this is how I have kind of always try to circumvent that abstraction, get them to immerse themselves in space and time. So this is her project here, and you can see this her introduction, and then she's built a really lovely interactive map here with the places she's going to focus on. So this is basically the tour she's going to take the reader onto, and she's embedded these pictures and these pop-ups into her map, and she's intentionally picked out this base map and the color scheme here. So very well done, very well thought out. This is her legend or her where we're going to be going on her tour. So we've got this nice sidecar here with her research embedded into it, images, places, just very smooth, well thought out. I'm just going through it real quick so you can get a feel of a story map here, of a student work. And then she's got her bibliography. So another student in that same class, this was his work here, Sacred Waters. So he's looking at sacred rivers and temples in India. Grayson Smith, who is also fantastic. He's bringing us to several important places. And here's his interactive map. Again, a different base map that students can choose between. A little bit of information so the reader can interact with this, know where they're going beforehand. And then a link that didn't work so well, but it will take us to this Google site. Again, Go Tree. Again, this will bring us to Google Maps. Yeah, so this is pretty baseline here. And then this is an example of survey 123. So like I said, I created a survey and put them on iPads for my students to go out into the field and collect data. And then we've got it online through story or through survey 123 here for students to analyze. So you can work with the different types of data that we've collected and try to analyze what we're looking at. There is just a fantastic tool for us. Um, let's see here. Um, how many female burials did we record? How many males? How many were unclear, unspecified? Now you can create visuals for the data you've collected. Um, word clouds. I had the students take photographs throughout their surveys, which you can go back to here. You can export everything. So I also had students export particular data sets to Excel, where they also learned how to work with Excel. So it's just uh, a nice package for students to work with that I don't think a lot of professors know about because I think a lot of people that use Survey 123 are out there recording city stuff like hydrants and trees and that sort of thing. So let me see here. I'm gonna go back to my slides. All right. Oops. So if you are very very new to the Esri world, it's super easy to get started. Once you get your account set up, y- it's so easy to start investigating the different tools that are available to you. So you contact CTS for an account if you're at our school, and what CTS will do was they'll contact Esri. Esri will send you an email, and you'll set up an account with them. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but we do have fantastic support from CTS for using Esri products. And then once you log in to your account, this is what the page looks like. This is our institution. So you can access tools right here. You can set up groups like classes here. You can access work organization wide, so SUNY Oswego wide, but all of the apps are available to you right here from this little button. Once you press those little buttons here, there'll be a drop down. You can see all these apps here. This ArcGIS StoryMaps is what we're talking about today, but Survey 123, like I said, is what I've used before. And the Living Atlas, this is a database for worldwide spatialized data. You can access that too. But anyway, so once you get into story maps, like I said, it's so user friendly. You've got this lovely section right here that's quick links, right? How to get started. It's right there. Tutorials, it's right there. How to plan, it's right there. Like it's just so user friendly, and you can just jump right in and start creating your first story. So it's not scary for students, let's say. And I just wanted to give you a slide with the essential building blocks for building your first story map, just breaking it down. So you can see it, it's not scary, right? You know, click on the plus new story button and then work your way through these steps here all the way down to publish. So very user friendly for students and us. Now, I did want to link you to an actual story map that talks about further about how to get started. If you want to check that out on your own, this is a great guide to walk you through creating your first story map. If you're a visual learner and you want to see that, this is a good guide. It's a basics tutorial. Now, as a student research project, like I said, story maps is a great way to help students actually organize their ideas as well. You have to have some organization in order to create a story map, and it helps you kind of organize your ideas for a writing assignment just by its very nature. And like I've said, it's versatile. The structure of a story map assignment can vary depending on, the topic, your scope, how much time you have for your students to work on this, and the goals of a course or goals of a discipline. Now, just to give you a bit more pedagogical information here, For an upper level history course, one of my South Asian courses here, what I have my students do is from the start of the semester thinking about creating a story map. Now, the story map isn't the end of the semester. They're going to create a story map that's going to culminate in a lightning talk, which is just a very quick talk. They're going to walk the class through their story map presentation. It's about 4 to 5 minutes. And then the foundation, the research writing within story maps that they've done is going to be the foundation for a final research paper. So they should already be kind of invested and immersed in the topic that they're thinking about before they write that final bigger research paper. So the organization I have them thinking about is, have a cover page, have an intro. They're going to move through, I'd say 5+ pilgrimage locations throughout South Asia. Those are going to be mapped out. And then per location, they should have 1 to 2 paragraphs of writing embedded into story maps. And they should have a succinct conclusion and a bibliography, which is what you saw with Alexandria's work. Now, part of this larger semester-wide framework, I have them work up to creating that story map. So I walk them through that through a series of 3 different targeted assignments. And I've sent you guys those assignments so you can see what that looks like. So part 1, at the start of the semester, I asked the students to think about their research topic, find their research topic, identify the places in space within South Asia they want to investigate, and find academic sources. Now, for me, for South Asian research, this vetting academic sources is really important because there's just so much political bias in a lot of publications, especially if it's coming from the government. So I kind of need to really be heavy-handed at this stage. Part 2, story map design. So they're actually thinking about what it's going to look like, planning place-based research, designing a theme that they're bringing into their story map, and the different types of immersive content that they're going to be using. So they actually have to think this out, plan it out, and justify it. And then part 3 is, they're going to hand in to me their map that they're embedding into their research and images or media that they're also going to be embedding. So they already have to have this stuff thought out. So there's no messy late story maps being submitted. So now, again, how I use story maps, and you don't have to do this, but this is really how I bring it into my classroom. It's really place-based driven. And this place-based framework helps really drive and give structure to student work. Right. And I give the students 2 options, for designing their work. It can either be something that's map focused or something that's media focused. And I give examples here on that slide of what those 2 options can look like. So they have to decide what they want their story map to be focused on and justify it. Now, the other thing that's particular to my class that's something to consider is something that I learned from cartography lessons, from photography lessons, from religious studies, is color is incredibly important for so many different reasons, culturally, viscerally, for your readers. So this is something I really want students to be conscientious about, their use of color. Color combinations and colors, they play such an important role in terms of our attention when the reader's looking at it, in terms of atmosphere for a topic, and also because in Hinduism and Buddhism, colors play such a central role and they have so much significance. So that's something that I like to tie together in my student work as well. Now, I just want to say that you don't have to reinvent the wheel if you are thinking about jumping into story maps or anything through Esri. There's, like I said, there's so many resources out there. And I wanted to give you one hot lead through the University of Minnesota. And they've got a great website that helps you kind of figure out how to create lesson plans. Um, you can see here assigned type, individual story map, work, focused, mid-size, final project. They've got great prompts and instructional guides here. You want students to do group story map work, survey 1, 2, 3 work, and then they've got rubric templates too. Now, I'm giving you this link so you can see what they're doing, but I've also given you the work that I've done that's been successful to date. It's not based on any of this stuff, so I'm doing my own thing, but you can see what other people are doing too. Now I want to bring to your attention this idea of immersive blocks. I don't think I'll have too much time to talk about this, but you've got the link there that I've given you. Now, Esri partners with Education Hard, right? I've gone to several Esri conferences for education, also as a researcher. So they have really great resources. And this link that I'm giving you here for a story map that talks about immersive blocks, I actually got that from an ESRI education workshop. So it talks about just making a story map in immersive through a couple of different tools, a sidecar, a slideshow, and a guided map tour. So those are easy tools that students can use. All right. I will stop talking. Does anyone have any questions or do you want to chat about anything?
Um, Thank you so much, Candice. Actually, I'm so excited to hear that we have ArcGIS.
We super
Um,
do. Yeah.
yeah, I was so actually I think my question was answered by that University of Minnesota page, because I was actually doing in my African politics class, which I teach this spring, I have students do a map project, but I've always like they're making a map based on data that they're collecting, not
Hmm.
collecting, like getting from other sources, obviously. And I just would have them do it in like Google Sheets. And then I would have them put together a report, right? But like story maps are such a better way to go.
Oh, yeah.
But they were working in groups.
Right.
So, but maybe actually I could just have them do um maybe I could just have them do individual ones. Like that's
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
group
I'm
work
gonna have
can
to check
get
it out.
can get messy for grading that, and creating rubrics for group work is tricky. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
well, I mean,
feel you.
yeah, well, and I have them do it's like a group PowerPoint that they put together, but then they're all writing up their own assignment for it. So maybe I can just do it as a
I
um
would.
yeah, as the individual instead.
Yeah.
Um okay, yeah, no, this was super informative, and I'm so excited to hear where the digital humanities lab is and kind of where it's going and all that. It's very exciting.
Okay, good. Thank you, Lisa. Let me know if you want to talk shop too, about rubrics or getting students to the final product.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out what you sent.
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Thanks.
Hi, Candice. Thanks. I've really enjoyed this as well. Very, very
Good.
interesting. I have, I guess it's a cynical question, so
Yes.
forgive the cynical question. How long has SUNY been funding the Esri subscription? And what are they funding it through? I guess, uh, yeah, because SUNY has a very bad habit of giving us something for free for a few years, and then they're like, oh, if you want to keep this, you now have to spend X
Yeah.
amount of money per year. So that's my only like, oh no, I hope
Yeah.
it's not one of those.
I feel yet. No, we have had a license for a very long time. I think mainly because the sciences rely so hard on using Esri products as well. They have never wavered from this. Like I've never even heard a whisper of them wavering. And I believe it's SUNY Buffalo that's managing our uh, our license. as well. So like from them, I've never heard anything. So this is not something that's going anywhere soon. And because they keep improving, keep making things more accessible, it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. But I
Great.
understand.
I'm so glad to hear that. That's
Yeah,
wonderful. It's probably
yeah.
through iTech.
I
Does that
think
sound familiar?
so.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm pretty sure that's where it's through. But
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you. I'm really glad to hear that.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
I taught a crime mapping course in, I think it was spring 2018 in one of the computer science labs, because that's where it was locally available. ArcGIS was locally downloaded on each of those computers. So I know, even since then we've had access.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, before, Maggie and I started, there was for sure Esri being used here. Absolutely. And yeah, we don't need to worry about having ArcGIS downloaded locally onto computers, Thank God that period is over. That was not fun. And it's so much more accessible to so many more students now, you know? So yeah. Any other fantastic questions from a fantastic audience on a very snowy day? Well, like if you have any questions, please shoot me an email. I'm around. Um, yeah, yeah. Geology uses it hard. Um, yeah, absolutely, Lisa. I'm just looking at your chat here, and I know when I was at University of Toronto, our forensics science department was even using it to map out bones. So like everyone can use this in some capacity. I think it's far too valuable for us to ever end up losing it, and a lot of people would just freak out. So yeah. Well,
Candice,
anyways, oh
are
yeah.
we out of time, Candice?
I'm not sure. I think we got 3 minutes.
Okay, just to comment on ArcGIS, I believe it went in with Shinneman, so it dates from about 2013.
Ah,
I seem to remember the lab being set up back then. I have a comment. I'm not going to put my video on. I have a comment about the linearity of story maps.
yeah.
How would you compare that to, let's say, a tool like Twine, where you have counterfactual possibilities of multiple decisions that can be made, and at the same time you can embed both Visual Basic and images within that particular package using HTML and XML? Have you
Yeah.
thought
Well,
about using
I
that at all in any of your courses? Again, in history, and again with Lisa in the social sciences, dealing with counterfactual types of decision-making situations, Twine might actually be an interesting tool for people to use. I've used it in MBA classes. I'm doing it now, in fact, trying to teach cognitive narrative intelligence to MBA students. I'm still around, by the way, not for much longer.
Okay. You know what? It's never occurred to me, just because I've worked so closely with all of the different functionalities within Esri, from like 3D modeling to mapping to survey work to story map. Like I've just never really strayed, so I haven't even checked out Twine. But that's
Yeah, of
interesting.
course
I'll
not.
have to look into it.
Yeah, it's very simple to use. We used to have it, and I used to introduce it in ISC 105.
Mm-hmm.
And MBA students are using it again to understand the nature of decision making, which can then be represented in artificial intelligence systems.
Right.
So
Right.
again, I think, Lisa, it might be more useful to political science, let's say, than let's
Yeah.
say history. But unless you want to build history on counterfactual kinds of situations, it might be interesting actually to build a course in history around counterfactuals and use something like Twine, where you have multiple decision-making capabilities.
Yep. Yeah. I
That's
think
something for
you're
you to
right.
do, Murad, in your spare time.
Yeah. And all of our spare time. Yeah.
So I didn't do it, so
Thank you, David. I'll have to look into that.
okay.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's all the time we have. Mm,
Well, thank you so much.
all right. Thank you all. Thank you for your time.